Mr. Chang. "And what have we got for it?" Mountbatten asked. "He sits on his backside doing nothing, saving his ammunition and equipment for the civil war with the communists when the Japs are beaten." "A civil war he'll probably win," Stillwell said. "Do you really think so?" Mountbatten shook his head. "You know, in the West, Mao and his people are looked upon as agrarian revolutionaries, that all they want is land for the peasants." "And you don't agree?" "Frankly, I think they're more communist than the Russians. I think they could well drive Chiang Kai-shek out of mainland China and take over after the war." "An interesting thought," Stillwell told him. "But if you're talking about making friends and influencing people, that's up to you. Washington won't play. Fresh supplies of arms and ammunition must come from your people, not American sources. We'll have a big enough problem handling Japan after the war. China is your baby." The Dakota came toward them and stopped. A couple of waiting ground crew wheeled steps forward and waited for the door to open. "So you don't think I'm asking dear old Chairman Mao too much?" "Hell no!" Stillwell laughed. "To be honest, Louis, if he agrees, I don't see how he'll be getting very much in return for all that aid you intend to give him. Better than nothing, old sport, especially if he agrees." The door swung open. A young Chinese officer emerged. A moment later, Mao Tse-tung appeared. He paused for a moment, looking toward them, wearing only a simple uniform and cap with the red star. Then he started down the steps. Mao Tse-tung, chairman of the Chinese Communist Party, was at that time 51, a brilliant politician, a master of guerrilla warfare, and a soldier of genius. He was also the implacable foe of Chiang Kai-shek, and the two sides had been engaged in open warfare instead of taking on the Japanese together. In the office, he sat behind the station commander's desk, the young officer behind him. To one side of Mountbatten and Stillwell stood a British Army major. His left eye was covered by a black eye patch, and the badge in his cap was that of the Highland Light Infantry. A corporal wearing the bonnet of the same regiment stood against the wall behind him, a cardboard office file under his left arm. Stillwell said in fluent Cantonese, "I'll be happy to translate for these proceedings, Chairman Mao." Mao sat facing him, face enigmatic, then said in excellent English, an ability he seldom advertised, "General, my time is limited." Stillwell stared at him in astonishment, and Mao said to Mountbatten, "Who is this officer and the man with him?" Mountbatten said, "Major Ian Campbell, Chairman, one of my aides. The corporal is his batman. Their regiment is the Highland Light Infantry." "Batman?" Mao inquired. "A soldier servant," Mountbatten explained. "Ah, I see." Mao nodded enigmatically and turned to Campbell. "The Highlands of Scotland, am I right? A strange people. The English put you to the sword, turned your people off their land, and yet you go to war for them." Ian Campbell said, "I'm a Highlander, flesh and bone, 1,000 years behind me, laird of Lochdew Castle, and all around, like my father and his before me. And if the English need a helping hand now and then, why not?" Mao actually smiled and turned to Mountbatten. "I like this man. You should lend him to me." "Not possible, Chairman." Mao shrugged. "Then to business. I have little time. I must make the return journey in no more than 30 minutes. What do you offer me?" Mountbatten glanced at Stillwell, who shrugged, and the Admiral said to Mao, "Our American friends are not able to offer arms and ammunition to you and your forces." "But everything that Generalissimo needs they will supply?" Mao asked. He stayed surprisingly calm, and Mountbatten said, "I believe I have a solution. What if the RAF flew in 10,000 tons a month over the hump to Kunming, assorted weapons, ammunition, and so forth?" Mao selected a cigarette from an old silver case, and the young officer lit it for him. The chairman blew out a long plume of smoke. "And what would I have to do for such munificence?" "Something," Mountbatten said. "I mean, we have..."